What is up? Well, everybody, it's not looking amazing for the F-150 Lightning as of right now. So I recently did a video about cold weather range. If you haven't seen that, it's just the latest video on my channel. Go check it out. The range for the F-150 Lightning. And this is just the tippity top of a lot of issues growing in this truck. And I really want to deep dive today and find out, on paper, yeah, the Ford F-150 Lightning was a huge success, especially financially. But are we going to look back and realize maybe things weren't as good as we thought? Let's take a look. So before we dive into today's video, this is the Electron V-Box, the 48 amp level 2 EV charger that we've been trying to give away for the last, 2 months maybe. Well, as of December 1st, we have officially picked a winner, and I've already contacted them. So if you have not been contacted, I'm sorry, but I hope to run more contests here. I wish I had more stuff to give away. I'm definitely going to try to do this more often because I was just really thrilled with the feedback I got from you guys. And I just want to give back to you guys more and more because, this channel I've built, it really means a lot, and I'm very grateful to have you guys here. So I do want to give back to you guys as much as I can. So I'm going to keep trying to set up things like a giveaway, things like that. If you have more ideas, let me know in the comments. I'd love to, just help grow our little community here. I do want to share, because I already reached out to, I'll say his first name as to not out him. His name is Mike. He responded back with a really cool message, and I just want to share what he's using this charger for. So he says his wife has a Mach-E California that is ordered, and he himself is waiting. He does have an order for a Pro F-150 Lightning, and he plans on using the charger for that. He said he's never won anything before, and that really makes me happy because, I don't know if I've ever won anything now that I think of it. So it's cool to break someone's luck streak there. And, it's going to a good home. And that's the biggest thing that I was, hoping for, because I totally just let the app I use choose the winner. So it could have gone to just, someone who isn't actually a viewer of the channel or something. So long story short, I'm just really grateful that Mike is someone who watches these videos and enjoys EVs and is going to put it to good use and not just resell it or something. So thank you, Mike, and thank everyone who entered. Again, sorry if you didn't win, but obviously, only one can take it home. So, okay, one last thing. If you're new to the channel, my name is Larry. This is Everything EV. We do e-bike reviews, but we mostly talk about EV news, especially electric trucks. We review electric vehicles here. So if any of that sounds interesting, stick around, consider subscribing. I'd really appreciate it. Okay, but now we can actually get into the video. Now, the first red flag issue was in year one of ordering for the F-150 Lightning. Now, just so you know, we don't have to get into the details, but there has been 2 years of ordering, and they've done them in different ways of basically taking a handful of the reservation holders at a time and letting them make their order. And now both years, the same issue happened, and it was around the availability of, we'll call them the affordable trims. Now, the 40,000 version of the truck and the, 50 or 60,000 version of the truck, those sold out within, roughly 2 wave orders both times. They made such a small amount of these that literally no one, essentially, statistically, got to order them. Like a couple lucky folks did, and that's fantastic, but the majority of the people who were on this waiting list for one of these actually affordable trims never got to order. You suckered me in, is their thought. I thought I was getting a $40,000 truck, and now I'm not. And this coincides with the second year price increase. So I'm nesting these in the same group because that 40,000 that only, let's say, 1,000 people at the most got to actually order disappeared because the next year they raised it by almost $10,000. In fact, now it is $12,000 or $13,000 more than the original price and the original advertised price for when people put their orders in, yet causing even more people to back out and saying like they're kind of screwing with us. And it sucked. Like, everyone is totally right for jumping off because it's just unfortunate. And obviously, Ford, I guess, couldn't have predicted just how popular this truck was going to be. But even in year 2, people are having the same issue. Ford just said, you know what, we're not making anymore. And the more I think about that, and they say it sells out, and, you know, is it a parts issue of why they can't make more of those? And no, they can't. They're all so similar. It just doesn't make sense other than for financial reasons, or I don't know, maybe they didn't want to sell as many. And that theory we should hold in the back of our heads, but I don't think maybe they wanted to get that many out until they do a redesign. And that'll make sense. Let me just skip right to what's happening right now. And it's with cold weather issues. It's with towing issues. Maybe they didn't want a lot of these affordable versions to see the light of day because people who were using it for work stuff would have probably turned around and not kept it, unfortunately. And I know it's hard for me to even say because it's just like such a accusation. But I mean, realistically, if a lot of pro people were able to make their order and start using it for work, the second winter hits and they're seeing this almost 50% range cut, yeah, they're probably not going to keep the vehicle, and therefore the headline turns to the Lightning is a failure. So I won't spend a lot of time telling you the news that you've probably already heard or the reason that you ended up here, but there has been issues around towing in the cold weather. So there's tons of videos. I don't have to get into them, but I'll just give you the quick highlights here. And basically, people are seeing almost a 50% range reduction. And now, if you're getting the standard range, that's only about 100 and some miles. And a lot of these tests are at like 30-degree weather. So in even colder weather, who knows? And what really sucks is Ford, like, a lot of their marketing right around ordering time was around their winter testing of this vehicle. I went back and looked at that material. Hopefully I have it on the screen now. And it looks cool. They're riding around in the winter and they're saying where they tested it. And I think in Alaska or like really cold areas. And they're not exactly explaining the results they got. They're just really highlighting, and there's tons of articles around this, by the way. And it was very publicized by Ford about this testing. But no results. And it kind of irks me out that this was released right around the release of the Lightning. And, you know, it's just proof that they had results of how this vehicle was going to perform in the winter. And, you know, if they were seeing these kind of numbers, I really wish they would have put that in that article for when people were ordering this. Because it's not normal to see 50% range reduction in an EV. I have a 2016 Tesla I've been driving lately, an older Model X, and it has no heat pump, which is something that Tesla has in their newer vehicles that makes them extremely more efficient in the winter. And I do see a decent amount of range loss in the winter weathers on this Tesla since I've only had it for like a week or so. But I don't think it's anywhere near 50%. I would call it 20 to 30, maybe 30. So seeing 50 on a vehicle that's so new, that's rough. That's crazy. And again, not everyone's seeing 50, but there's quite a few reports of people getting 50% range loss in the Lightning. And let me tell you why that's bad real quick if you're new to the whole electric truck thing. The standard range, for instance, it says 220 is the EPA estimated range. That's at 100%. Good hygiene on an EV, you're not supposed to charge it to 100%. So you're supposed to charge it to around 90%. And if you're doing that, then obviously you're probably closer to 200. And then if you are seeing winter range issues, let's say you're down to, we'll call it 120 miles and give it a little extra credit. And then let's say you're towing, a medium-sized load, which we were seeing an additional, I believe it was, let's just safely say like a 40% loss. All of a sudden, you're only getting, let's say, 60 or 75 miles on a full charge. How are you going to do anything with that? It's tough. And again, maybe a reason why we didn't see as many of these pro or these work trucks. And why the pros that did go out, again, pro is the cheapest version. The ones that did go out to businesses were extended range and not the standard range, which is only available for the consumer. And consumer can only get that standard 220, whereas the fleet versions of this vehicle that they sold quite a few of from I saw, like Sunrun just got a huge order of them. So the ones that went out to those folks, they got the 300 plus mile range version, which, that is probably a little more flexible and they can do the jobs with that. I'm just saying it's not looking great, optics wise. Before winter hit, I would say it hit a couple bumps in the road because back then it was just the towing issues, which should have been common sense. That one was just obvious, right? Because on a gas vehicle statistic, when you're towing, almost to the exact same percentage of fuel loss that you get from energy loss on an EV. Like that was a given. And obviously anyone who is researching a vehicle probably knew that before buying it. And if not, they didn't do the research. So the towing thing was fine. But if they did their research, they would see on any newer EV, you should only expect about maybe a 20% winter range loss. Like I had a newer Model Y for a while and I was only seeing about 20%. And I think even on like the Mach-E was only seeing around 25%. I don't know the exact statistic, but hopefully it's on the screen. If not, look it up. But it wasn't that bad. So if you kind of looked at those things and brought it over to what you would expect for the Lightning and you did the math and it would work out, that's great. But then when all of a sudden it's double that loss, you have an issue. But there are still so many people who this truck is perfect for. And in fact, I think the statistic I saw recently of like 70 something, I don't know the exact number. It was like 70, I want to say like 4% of truck owners aren't using it for work. They're using it as a family vehicle. They're using it as just a work commute vehicle or whatever it might be. And I'm not one of those guys I'm far from the guy who would say, oh, you can't buy a truck unless you're using it for work. In fact, I don't like people who say that. Heck, I barely use my truck for work. So, and in fact, if majority of truck buyers aren't using it for work related things, then this vehicle is probably still fine. They're not seeing the issue. They're probably on a day you're not commuting more than, I don't know, 100 and like on a crazy day, 150 miles. Like if your commute's longer than that, you probably shouldn't be looking at an EV. But if you're on a daily average, not going more than, let's say, even 200 miles, which is a lot of driving, you're still probably going to be fine. Maybe you have to pull over for a 15-minute charge, but that's on like the worst winter condition on a 200-mile drive. So that's why, and maybe I should have led with this section instead of saving it for the end, but those of you who are still watching can correct all the people who immediately just left a comment down there. Because I am talking about why it is still an okay purchase for most people. Even if you're using it for light work, this range issue, these towing issues probably don't affect you that much. And they steal the headlines. It's what's called the vocal minority. It's the people who aren't the majority of the usage, but are louder. The squeaky wheel gets the grease type. And they're so actively against what's happening that we put all of our attention on them and think of that as the majority. So, for instance, all the articles right now about winter range loss, all the articles about towing, we focused in on those, especially people from the outside who are only reading the headlines are focusing in on those kind of vocal minority headlines and saying, oh, that thing must suck. all I see is stuff about how it can't tow and how it sucks in the winter. When if you just look a tiny bit below the layer, you see that, well, I guess for the majority of people, it's totally fine still. As long as you're okay with that, you can handle those reductions and you can handle how expensive it is. This truck is still perfect. Go for it. Awesome. But frankly, I'm kind of on the fence right now. So I still haven't ordered it for a Lariat. But the biggest reason I'm on the fence is, well, it's expensive. Obviously, I knew that going in. I'm not shocked by that. I'm prepared. I was prepared to pay it, but I wasn't prepared to deal with that in the winter too, because my reservation's only for the standard range. And I'm kicking myself for not just saying, if I'm spending such a stupid amount of money on a truck, maybe I should have just gone to the extended range. But that, again, is a $10,000 upgrade, which is nuts. And my fear right now is a standard range Lariat that I'm basically wedged into now. Man, oh man, is that going to lose its value in like a year maybe? I don't know. I'll do an update video soon. But in short, that Tesla Model X that I mentioned earlier, I'm basically deciding if I'm going to keep that long term or not, and that's why I have it. So I'll do a couple videos on that, and we can talk about that more. I don't know. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know if you've backed off and why. But please, if you comment, keep it civil. There's so many people who are just so anti-EV, who use these headlines as a way to say all EVs are terrible. All EV trucks are terrible. And it's just not the truth. Are there hiccups? Are there learning curves? Are some lightnings being plugged into Electrify America charge and popping and being towed away? Yeah, all of that's happening, but are a lot of people who maybe were never EV folks converting to an EV? Yup. Are a lot of people loving their truck? Yup. It's just, again, sometimes these negative headlines make all the attention. And I'm no better for that. That's kind of, I mean, I obviously titled this video, "Is This Thing a Failure?" So by no means is what I mentioned a bad thing. I do it. I do it because that's the way the world works. That's how you get attention for your videos. I hate that that's how it works, but you got to play the game. But the people who actually consume the whole video, like you who stayed to the end, get it. Maybe I'll get better at YouTube and figure out how to actually, make a video work. I don't know. All right, guys, we've covered a lot, and I am so grateful that you are watching still and that you are hopefully a subscriber. I don't know. Let me know your thoughts. I'm at a loss of words, guys, and that is why we're going to end the video. Thank you again. And a big shout out again to Mike or Michael, I don't know what you go by exactly, for winning the V-Box electric vehicle charger. And I hope that you're still very excited about your truck that's on the way. All right. See you guys.